Globalization of agriculture is a disaster at every level. It's a disaster ecologically. We have eaten more than 7,000 plants. Even today in India, we probably eat more than 1,000 crops. Every average little farm will have 250 species, cultivated and not cultivated. Globalized agriculture cannot deal with that diversity and therefore must destroy it and must create monocultures. The industrial model of agriculture has pretended to be a more productive and an efficient system, but its efficiency is measured by measuring how few people are on the land, without measuring how many more energy requirements are created, how much more chemicals you use, how many more machines you use. In fact, this is a false efficiency because you're increasing the energy slaves, the invisible use of energy slaves on the farm, meantime removing people on land. Globalized industrialized agriculture is an agriculture based on fossil fuels. It uses fossil fuels to produce the fertilizers, to run the machines, to do the processing, and then to transport food thousands of miles away. Every step you are putting fossil fuel into food. We have reached a situation where we are actually eating oil. We are not eating food. Agriculture and food production is one area where not only is localization desirable, in fact it is necessary. It is necessary because non-localized, globalized food systems are demanding more resources than this planet has. Everywhere food laws are being introduced in the name of safety to the consumer. But at every point what is being introduced is hazardous food with additives, chemicals, irradiation, all kinds of treatment, genetic engineering that are hazardous to our system. And the way the food laws are working, it could be at the level of the WTO through the Codex Alimentarius, it could be at the level of Europe through the European food laws, it could be at the level of India, but it's basically a system which criminalizes the small producer and processor and deregulates the giant agribusiness. Criminalizing the small is a sure way to shut down local food economies. That's why I have decided 20 years ago, whether it is for seed or it is for food, we will not cooperate with laws that try to shut down our local economies. We will keep saving our seeds. We will keep producing our food in our own ways. I think the way Western education has grown over the last few centuries, especially with the rise of industrialization, was basically not to create human beings fully equipped to deal with life and all its problems, independent citizens able to exercise their decisions and live their responsibilities in community, but elements to feed into an industrial production system. Schools and universities are being told there are only 3 disciplines that you really need to know, and the only disciplines that are growing. Master of Business Administration, how to run a business. Second is biotechnology. And the third is computer sciences and information technology. As if sitting on a computer and keying in software programs to allow Microsoft to maximize higher returns will leave that programmer with higher levels of knowledge about the world. We moved from wisdom to knowledge, and now we are moving from knowledge to information, and that information is so partial that we are creating incomplete human beings. Local knowledge is knowledge that tells you about life. It is about living. Local knowledge is about the interaction between different elements of ecosystems. And local knowledge is about the most essential elements of life. In local cultures, where there is local knowledge alive, you will never find people at a loss when a baby is born, because there are enough experts. Every second woman is a midwife. You will never be at a loss to know how to cure an ordinary ailment. Local knowledge is knowledge where capital and experts do not mediate between you and your needs. And the problem with capital and experts mediating between you and your needs is that capital, of course, will mediate to maximize its own returns. Therefore, will always leave you with bigger problems. And it works wonderfully for the system because it is a system based on profits, it's a system based on control, and it's a system based on alienation. As money encroaches more and more into people's lives, and microcredit was a way to introduce more cash flows into society, eventually what microcredit has done is not increase the productive capacity of local community, but increase their consumer capacity. In fact, microcredit has become a mechanism of creating a consumer class among the poor who cannot afford to be mere consumers. They also need to be producers. In Madhya Pradesh, women created self-help groups, and now levers, through World Bank influence and conditionalities on loans, levers is being able to harvest these self-help groups, and the women who were the local leaders are being called Shakti Ammas, and instead of being creators and producers of things, they are now being turned into petty salesmen of shampoos and toothpaste. Now, who are the people who are pushing this model? They are people who went to school thinking that the biggest thing they could do is sell products. And the biggest favor they could do to communities is bring consumer products to them. It's always been made to look like it's inevitable that rural areas will be replaced by cities and most people will live in cities, and that this is a natural flow, that this migration is a natural flow. There's nothing natural about it. If today the cities are growing, it's because globalization is making life unviable in the rural areas. I call this the biggest genocide, because a genocide is by design trying to exterminate or harm any group. Small farmers are the largest group of humanity. They're economically defined by what they do, not by the color of their skin or the religion. And unfortunately, we've never, ever focused on economic genocide. Rural areas are being flushed out by an economic genocide. That is why cities are growing, creating alternatives for small farmers to be able to live in their local economies has become a survival imperative for the poor. Not to keep them poor, but to allow them to live. Localization does not mean insularity, but it does mean having a sense of discrimination based on ecological assessments, based on cultural assessments about what it is that we should send out of our economy and what it is that we should bring into our economy. Localization of particular aspects of our economies is an imperative for the North and the South. It's an imperative first and foremost in areas like food, because food is not just a commodity. It is in fact not commodity at all. Food is foremost nourishment. Food is culture. And diverse cultures of food can only be part of localized cultures of food. You need to have localization of food north and south, because anything that is grown globally for global trade will be grown non-sustainably. The only systems that work sustainably are localized food systems. Ecological systems can only work locally, and that ecological imperative is as important for England and Germany as it is for India and Africa. Around the world, I actually see more hope than hopelessness. I see more hope because more people have said no to genetic engineering than have said, yes, we will eat this horrible food. More farmers, when they have come to know about what's happening with seed patenting, have said, we will save our own seeds and we will be sovereign in our seed. More citizens have said no to water privatization. In fact, I don't know a single community anywhere in the world that has said, yes, we want our water privatized. Yes, we want to pay 10 times more for worse quality water. And around the world, on basic issues of food and water, the environment, about our cultures, everywhere, people are working to rejuvenate the earth and rejuvenate local cultures and local economies. And this, I believe, is a much bigger movement than all the noisy bombings in Iraq and Lebanon.
I had so hoped to join you all at this conference on the economics of happiness. But unfortunately, it is impossible for me to make it. And so I send you this message in solidarity and with the hope that these important efforts to redefine the economy and redefine progress start to shift our worldview, our patterns of consumption and production, and our ideas of what is the economy. In any case, with the collapse of the economy all around us, whether it be Wall Street in 2008 or Europe currently, you just have to look at the streets of Greece and Spain and Iceland and Ireland and Portugal and Italy to know that there is no stability in the model that has been built at nature's cost and people's cost. This is the time to redefine the economy and to put at its center the happiness of people, the well-being of people, as the government of Bhutan has done, and the well-being of the earth through ecological sustainability. Because if we have a ravished earth, there is no economy. We've been made to believe in the last few years that globalization is the only way to move forward. Globalization is taking us back to the most primitive of capital accumulation, to the most gross of colonialism and colonization, where land is appropriated, forests and rivers are appropriated. This is not the future. The only economies in which people have a place and nature is protected are local economies. That is where we have a small ecological footprint, while we embrace larger numbers in our local communities. We have to move from economies that are killing, democracies that are nearly dying, where democracies can be bought with billions of dollars, as we witness in the United States today. We need to move to living democracy where people shape their world. We need to move to local living economies. It has to happen, and we have to make it happen soon before too much is destroyed. Enjoy the conference. I look forward to listening to you all about the outcome and the future actions you plan together. Good luck.